Why do boxers get on semen retention? Right? Some of the greatest boxers who have ever walked planet Earth, the likes of Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao, some of the greatest athletes even, but to them, specifically focus on boxers. Why do they get on semen retention, right? So chances are you're watching this, whatever, you're on semen retention, and you've seen the benefits, you felt the drive, but you've probably seen a couple benefits. You're like, all right, I have a little bit more energy, I feel a little bit better, but what you don't realize is semen retention goes far beyond that, all right? This is an extremely powerful practice. What you got to understand is when you get on semen retention, right? Let's talk about, releasing in general and sex in general. Sex is a base biological desire. So all that fucking means, it's not complicated. All that means is that you need to have sex, right? It's something that needs to be fulfilled in your body. Just like eating, right? If I'm hungry, I don't eat shit all day. I need food at some point. It's a base biological desire. So what happens is when you get on the fucking journey, when you stop gooning off like a retard and you stop having sex even with women. So even if you abstain from having sex with women, your body's going to go into this state, all right, where it's going to be more agitated, more aggressive, right? Think about what happens when you're hungry. You hear people all the time, they get hangry. What does that mean? Hungry and angry. So if I'm hungry and angry, it's a process that my body's trying to get me to go through so I can actually go out there and survive, right? So if I'm gonna walk you through this. When you are hungry and you need food to eat, all right, your body's gonna make you angry, it's gonna make you hungry, it's gonna make you feel pain, so you actually had the motivation to go out there, get some food, and survive. Same thing with sex, because they're both biological based desires that need to be fulfilled. Sex, you're getting no bitches. So what your body's trying to get you to do is trying to get you to improve yourself, be more masculine, become more attractive, have more drive, so you can get all these things and work on yourself to eventually get a woman and have sex, because that's a base biological desire. So the reason why, you might be thinking, what is this guy fucking talking about? How does this relate to boxing? Basically what I'm trying to say is, when boxers abstain from having sex and especially gooning, it's fucking ridiculous. If you're watching this video and you still goon and you still a fucking dickhead in your room watching the websites, you need to stop that shit today, alright? I understand it's difficult. If you relapse, it can be very discouraging, alright? You're gonna feel like complete shit, I get it. But bro, if you're not actively trying as hard as possible to stop gooning and watching the sites, bare minimum, then what the fuck are you doing? I'm not saying abstain from women. All I'm saying is stop being a dickhead and milking yourself in bed. Right, but back to the boxing thing I was talking about. These boxers are actively starving themselves from having sex, and what happens is, since they're starving themselves, they're not releasing, they're not having orgasms. So what happens is they're not getting the same chemical release that they would have, right? When you relapse or release or whatever, your body goes into a relaxed state, right? It's not, that's the reason why after you release, you're not as motivated. You don't want to fucking go and run a marathon. You just want to sit down, take a nap, and call it a day, alright? But your body, if you don't orgasm for long enough, alright, these boxers, they go like weeks, over months before they release, before a big fight, because it gets them into that state where like they're locked in, they're training hard, they're not wasting their energy, they have more aggression, right? And what it does, especially when you get on this journey, bro, and you stop releasing, it builds up this momentum and this energy deep within you. It's like a burning fire, and whatever emotions you're feeling, they get amplified like 10 times stronger. So if someone cuts you off in traffic, you're mad as shit, you're gonna get even more angry if you're on retention than if you just released, right? let's say, like every emotion gets amplified on this journey, okay? If you're depressed, and let's say something bad just happened to you, I don't know, your dog got run over by an ice cream truck, and you're sad, on semen retention, you're going to be even more sad than usual because all your emotions are amplified. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I'm going to take you into the mind of a boxer, right? So the boxer, he's training, he's working hard, you know, he's doing tough workouts, he's hitting the heavy bag, you know, he's sparring every single day, fighting, doing the most primal thing in the world, which is fighting. Fighting has existed since the beginning of human time. So they're doing this, and what happens is when you're fighting, your adrenaline, your testosterone, they go through the fucking roof because you need it. You need it to survive. That's how your body functions. It's gonna fuel you up with everything you need in order to win. So these boxers, you know, they're training, they're running. And what happens is, they're not having sex, they're not gooning, of course. They're not watching the sights. They're locked in on training, and since their emotions are amplified, like I said earlier, they're thinking about their opponent every single day. They're thinking, oh, I'm gonna beat this guy. They have him hanged up on a poster of the wall. They're getting ready to beat this one guy. That's all they're thinking about for weeks. Just this one guy, how he fights, and how they're gonna beat him in a fight. That's all they're thinking about. So all these fucking emotions, they build up. They're building all this momentum and hatred in their heart. And they're locked in. They're more aggressive. They're fucking angry because they haven't released. So they have all this masculine energy. They're fucking fighting every day, pumped up with testosterone. So when the day comes and it's fight night, they go ahead and they have a competitive advantage. Because if the fucking opponent, right? Let's say you're Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, he goes there, he's retaining, he trained for fucking weeks, he's not thinking about women. He's gonna be more dialed in the fight than his opponent, fucking Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston, he just fucking was sleeping around the whole time during training camp. He was chilling. He wasn't too serious. And he gets into the fight. The guy who's gonna be more hungry is Muhammad Ali, because he on retention, he hadn't had sex the whole time. He's gonna be more dialed in, and he's gonna have the competitive advantage and win the fight. That's why these boxers get on retention. Now, let me ask you a question, because I know some of you still don't understand what I'm trying to say. Let's say you get two guys, right? And you just put them into this room, and let's say the room has no escape doors. There's no doors you can escape out of, no windows, nothing. And you force these guys, this is going to sound a bit gruesome, but you force these guys to just brawl each other until one of them just gives up, okay? Now let's say person A, Jimmy, he just slept around last night, you know, he went to the bar, he was drinking. Actually, I changed my mind. Let's say Jimmy, he had sex the night before, and he is on a full stomach. He just ate a huge meal, a nice fucking steak dinner, you know, with butter on it. And, you know, he had a great night. He went out to dinner and he had sex the night before. So he's chilling. That's Jimmy. Now, let's say you take Jake. Let's say Jake hasn't had sex for 3 months. Okay? Hasn't had sex, hasn't been watching the sights, hasn't been milking himself in his room. And he hasn't ate breakfast. He woke up at 6 a.m., hasn't ate breakfast, lunch, and right now it's about 6 p.m. and they're about to fight. Who do you think is gonna win? It's obvious, right? It's a no-brainer. Obviously, the guy who's more agitated, more hungry, is gonna survive, bro. When you're on a full stomach, you feel lazy, lethargic. You're like, oh, I don't really want to do anything. But this guy who fucking is fasted the whole day, hasn't had sex in a long time, he's fucking angry. He's like, he's in a bad mood. Who the fuck wants to fight me? That's how he feels. Like, whoever it is, man, I'm gonna dominate this fight, right? I could have said something worse right there, but I'm not trying to, you know, get shadow banned on YouTube. But obviously the person who's more hungry is gonna win. Alright, so that's why these boxers get on retention. Now, these boxers I mentioned, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, these are not average boxers. Alright, the average boxer is a nobody. Alright, they're a somebody, but no one really knows their name. They lose fights. They don't make a lot of money either, right? But these boxers I'm talking about, the boxers specifically who I mentioned, get on retention. I'm not cutting that out. These boxers specifically on retention, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson famously said he retained for like 5 years while he was training. Mike Tyson, bro, he grew up in this crazy neighborhood, basically the hood. There's a whole lot of crime. He got arrested over like 30 times by age 13, which is crazy. How many crimes you gotta commit, right? But Mike Tyson, he was basically not sleeping around throughout the whole training camp, and he became one of the youngest heavyweight champions ever in the world at this time period. He became the heavyweight champion of the world at 20 years of age. Think about that, 20 years. I don't know how old you are, but when you were a fucking 20-year-old, you weren't that disciplined. You weren't the heavyweight champion, the fucking man, right? That just goes to show you how much energy and how much focus you get when you don't sleep around with women, when you don't, especially milk yourself in bed and goon and fucking watch the sights. That's just goes to show you. Now, sure, Mike Tyson, he was jacked, he had a good physique, he works extremely hard, but I guarantee you, at least to some degree, Mike Tyson would not have gotten the same results he got at 20. He wouldn't have been the heavyweight fucking champion of the world, maybe as quickly, if he was sleeping around, doing fuck all.